The human ship approached our sector with all the grace of a drunk Vorthon attempting ballet. I, Commander Crix of the Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet, watched through my observation deck as their vessel, aptly named Murphy's Law, limped toward our diplomatic station. Black smoke trailed behind it like a confession of guilt. "Sir," my aide Yara whispered, her tentacles twitching nervously, "are we absolutely certain this is wise?" Wise? Oh, that was rich. Nothing about inviting humans to a peace summit was wise. These bipedal disasters had somehow conquered half their solar system by accident, turned their moon into a weapons testing ground, and declared war on 3 different species before realizing they were actually fighting holographic advertisements. But here we were. Wisdom, dear Yara, is a luxury we abandoned the moment High Command decided humans were ready for civilized discourse. I adjusted my ceremonial robes, wondering if they made them blast-resistant. Besides, what could possibly go wrong? Famous last words, as humans would say. The docking bay shuddered as Murphy's Law connected with our station. Through the transparent aluminum viewing port, I could see figures moving inside their ship. 5 humans, our intelligence had reported. A diplomat, a scientist, a military officer, a technical specialist, and something they called a cultural advisor, which, knowing humans, probably meant someone whose job was to prevent the others from accidentally starting wars. The airlock hissed open with theatrical precision. Our carefully orchestrated welcome committee stood at attention. Myself, 3 junior diplomats, 2 security officers, and a medical team standing by because, well, humans. The first human to emerge was their diplomat, a woman named Jessica Reeves. Tall, composed, with the kind of smile that suggested she knew something you didn't. Behind her came Dr. Marcus Webb, their scientist, clutching a datapad like it contained the secrets of the universe. The military officer, Colonel Lisa Hayes, scanned our reception with the practiced eye of someone who'd seen too many ambushes. Their technical specialist, Tom Richardson, was already pulling out some contraption that beeped ominously. And finally, their cultural advisor, Alex Morgan, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else in the galaxy. "Commander Crix," Jessica said, extending her hand in that peculiar human greeting ritual. "Thank you for hosting us. We are honored to be here." Honored? Right. I'd read the reports about what happened the last time humans felt honored to be somewhere. 3 space stations, 4 minor wars, and 1 accidental first contact with a species that turned out to be highly combustible. "The honor is ours," I replied, grasping her hand briefly. Human skin was surprisingly warm, like touching something that might explode at any moment. "Welcome to Station Unity. I trust your journey was eventful?" Dr. Webb snorted. "Our hyperdrive decided to take a vacation halfway here. Had to recalibrate using stellar cartography and pure stubborn determination. Standard Tuesday for us," Colonel Hayes added with a grin that made my scales itch. This was already going splendidly. I led them through the station's main corridors, past gardens filled with flora from 17 different worlds, past meditation chambers where various species sought inner peace, past the cultural exchange center where beings from across the galaxy learned to understand each other. Tom Richardson's device kept beeping. "Is that supposed to be making that noise?" I asked, trying to keep the concern out of my voice. "Oh, this?" Tom held up the contraption. "It's just scanning for, well, let's call it environmental anomalies. Nothing to worry about. Environmental anomalies. In my 15 years of diplomatic service, I'd learned that when humans said nothing to worry about, it was time to worry. A lot." We arrived at the main conference chamber, a circular room designed to accommodate the physiology of 47 different species. The other delegates were already present. Ambassador Thrain from the Zephyrian Collective, sitting in his specialized atmosphere pod, Councillor Vex from the Silicon Confederacy, her crystalline form refracting light into rainbow patterns, High Priest Mogu from the Thermal Empire, radiating heat waves that made the air shimmer, and 6 others representing various stellar nations. All eyes and optical sensors and heat detection organs turned to the humans as we entered. "Esteemed colleagues," I announced, "may I present the delegation from Earth, The silence that followed could have been measured in geological epochs. Ambassador Thrain was the first to speak, his voice bubbling through his atmosphere pod's translation system. "So, these are the humans we have heard so much about." "Guilty as charged," Jessica replied cheerfully. Counselor Vex's form shimmered. "Your reputation precedes you. We prefer to think of it as our resume," Alex said. "Admittedly, it's a bit unconventional." Dr. Webb had moved to one of the viewing ports and was staring out at the nebula surrounding our station. "Fascinating gravitational dynamics out there. Has anyone studied the tidal effects on local space-time?" "Dr. Webb," I said carefully, "this is a peace conference, not a scientific expedition." "Oh, I know, but you can't help but notice things, can you? Like how this entire station is positioned right at the gravitational sweet spot of 3 different stellar bodies. Brilliant engineering. Also probably the most strategically defensible position in this entire sector." Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Dr. Webb had just pointed out something we'd hoped wouldn't be quite so obvious. Tom's device beeped again, more insistently this time. "Everything all right there, Tom?" Colonel Hayes asked. "Well," Tom studied his readout. "I'm picking up some interesting energy signatures. Nothing dangerous, just curious." "Curious how?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. "Like someone's been running very sophisticated scanning equipment. The kind you'd use if you wanted to map every single system on this station. Defensive grids, power distribution, life support, communication arrays, that sort of thing." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Jessica's smile never wavered. "Tom, perhaps we should focus on the diplomatic agenda." "Oh, absolutely. Just making conversation." Tom tucked his device away. "Though I have to say, whoever set up those scans did excellent work. Very thorough, very complete." High Priest Mogu's heat signature flared. "Are you suggesting we have been conducting surveillance on your vessel?" "Not suggesting anything," Tom replied innocently. "Just appreciating good craftsmanship when I see it." This was spiraling out of control faster than a hyperdrive with a damaged containment field. "Perhaps," I interjected quickly, "we should begin with the formal proceedings. We have much to discuss regarding the proposed peace treaty between Earth and the Galactic Council." "Absolutely," Jessica agreed. "Though I have to ask, and please forgive my curiosity, but why here? Why Station Unity?" It was a reasonable question. Station Unity wasn't our usual diplomatic venue. It was newer, more advanced, equipped with systems that could accommodate species with wildly different environmental needs. It was also, as Dr. Webb had astutely observed, positioned in one of the most strategically important locations in this part of the galaxy. "Station Unity represents our commitment to inclusive diplomacy," I explained. "Every species, regardless of their physical requirements or cultural background, can participate fully in negotiations here. Plus," added Counselor Vex, "it's equipped with the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. For everyone's protection, of course." Alex Morgan raised an eyebrow. "Protection from what, exactly?" The question hung in the air like a toxic gas cloud. "Well," Ambassador Thrain said, his voice carefully neutral, "humans do have a certain reputation for unpredictability." Colonel Hayes laughed. "Unpredictable? Us? We are about as predictable as sunrise. That's what concerns us," High Priest Mogu rumbled. "Your sun is a Class G2V variable star with a tendency towards solar flares." "Fair point," Dr. Webb conceded. "Though technically, all stars are variable if you look at them long enough." Tom's device chose that moment to emit a series of rapid beeps. "Tom," Jessica said, her voice carrying a note of warning. Sorry, it's just, well, this is interesting." "What now?" I asked, dreading the answer. "Those energy signatures I was tracking? They are not passive scans anymore. Someone just activated a whole lot of very sophisticated equipment, the kind you'd use if you wanted to, say, disable a ship's engines, or jam their communications, or prevent them from leaving." The silence that followed was the kind that precedes either enlightenment or catastrophe. Jessica's smile finally showed a hint of strain. "Well, that's awkward." Ambassador Thrain's atmosphere pod began cycling through various colors, never a good sign. "I can assure you, this is not." "Oh, I'm sure it's not," Jessica interrupted smoothly. "Just like I'm sure the 3 Galactic Navy cruisers that just dropped out of hyperspace behind that convenient asteroid field are also not related to our little peace conference." How did she know about the cruisers? Our sensors hadn't even detected them yet. Dr. Webb looked up from his data pad. Actually, make that 5 cruisers, and what appears to be a detention vessel. Detention vessel. My heart sank to approximately the level of my boots. This is highly irregular, I protested, though even I could hear how weak it sounded. Irregular. Colonel Hayes stood up, her hand moving instinctively toward where her sidearm would be if station security hadn't required her to surrender it. That's an interesting word for it. Alex Morgan shook his head sadly, and here I thought this might be the one peace conference where nobody tried to kidnap us. Kidnap? Councillor Vex's form flickered with what I'd learned to recognize as agitation. This is a legitimate diplomatic gathering, with hidden military assets and active containment protocols. Tom held up his device, which was now beeping like a smoke alarm. Forgive me if I'm skeptical. The situation was deteriorating faster than a hull breach in hard vacuum. I had to salvage this somehow. The entire future of human-galactic relations hung in the balance. There must be some misunderstanding, I began. Oh, there's a misunderstanding, all right, Jessica said. The question is whether it's ours or yours. Before I could ask what she meant, the station's communication system crackled to life. Station Unity, this is Admiral Corax of the Galactic Navy. Please confirm the status of your guests. Admiral Corax, the butcher of the Proxima campaign, the architect of the Titan blockade. If he was here, this wasn't a diplomatic mission, this was a trap, and we were all caught in it. But as I looked at the 5 humans standing in my conference room, Dr. Webb still studying his datapad like he was working out a particularly interesting equation, Tom grinning at his beeping device like it was telling jokes, Colonel Hayes assessing the room's tactical possibilities, Alex Morgan looking resigned to another day at the office, and Jessica Reeves wearing the kind of smile that suggested she'd been expecting this all along. I began to wonder who exactly was caught and who was doing the catching. The station shuddered slightly as the Galactic Navy ships moved into position. Tom's device let out one long, sustained beep. Well, Jessica said, clasping her hands behind her back, this should be interesting. And that's when I realized that everything I thought I knew about this peace conference was wrong. The humans hadn't walked into our trap. We'd walked into theirs. The communication channel crackled again. Station Unity, respond immediately. Confirm the detention status of the human delegation. I stared at Jessica Reeves, whose smile had transformed from diplomatic pleasantry to something that made my blood run cold. Around the conference table, my fellow delegates were shifting nervously, their various forms of body language all screaming the same thing. We had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Corax, I said into the comm, my voice barely steady. This is Commander Crix. The human delegation is secure. Secure. Dr. Webb looked up from his datapad with genuine curiosity. That's a funny word. Are we secure from you, or are you secure from us? Before I could answer, Tom Richardson let out a low whistle. Oh, this is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. What now? Colonel Hayes asked, though she sounded more amused than concerned. They have got the entire station locked down, full containment protocols, jamming fields active, navigation systems disabled, emergency bulkheads sealed. Tom was grinning like a child with a new toy. It's like a masterclass in tactical imprisonment. How can you possibly know all that? Ambassador Thrain demanded, his atmosphere pod cycling through agitated colors. Tom held up his device. This little beauty has been mapping their system since we docked. Amazing what you can learn when people assume you are just scanning for environmental hazards. That's impossible, Councillor Vex protested. Our security protocols are excellent, Dr. Webb interrupted. Truly impressive. The kind of planning that takes months, maybe years. You didn't just invite us here for a peace conference. You invited us here to disappear. The accusation hung in the air like a toxic cloud. I wanted to deny it, but the evidence was mounting faster than a supernova's pressure wave. This is preposterous, High Priest Mogu rumbled, though his heat signature betrayed his nervousness. We are representatives of civilized worlds. We don't simply make people disappear. Oh, but you do, Alex Morgan said sadly. The Terran Trading Consortium, Captain Elena Vasquez and her crew, the research team from New Geneva, all invited to similar diplomatic meetings, all mysteriously vanished without a trace. My hearts, yes, plural, it's a Krellian thing, skipped several beats. How could they possibly know about those operations? Jessica stepped forward, her presence somehow filling the room despite her relatively small stature. "You want to know what we want, Commander Crix? We want our people back. All of them. Your people are perfectly safe," I lied, though I suspect my translator betrayed the deception in my voice patterns. "Are they?" Dr. Webb tapped his data pad. "Because according to the intelligence we have gathered, they are being held in a black site facility called the Integration Center. Lovely name, by the way. Very corporate, very clean. Hides the fact that you are basically running a prison for inconvenient humans. The Integration Center. How in the name of all sacred flames did they know about that?" Admiral Corax's voice cut through the commaggen. "Station Unity, we are detecting unusual energy readings from your location. Report status immediately." "Everything's fine, Admiral," I replied, though nothing about this situation qualified as fine. Tom's device was beeping in complex patterns now, like it was playing a musical composition. "Actually, Admiral, you might want to check your tactical displays. I think you will find them quite educational." There was a long pause. Then Admiral Corax's voice returned, but it had lost its commanding tone. What is that?" "That," Colonel Hayes said with satisfaction, "would be the ESS Retribution dropping out of hyperspace directly above your position." My blood turned to ice water. The ESS Retribution was humanity's newest dreadnought, a ship so advanced that our intelligence couldn't even properly classify its capabilities, along with, Dr. Webb added cheerfully, the ESS Defiance, ESS Unstoppable, and the ESS Murphy's Revenge. "Oh, and about 40 smaller vessels that I'm sure your sensors are picking up right about now." The station's lights flickered as our sensors went into overdrive, trying to process the sudden appearance of what could only be described as a human battle fleet. "Impossible," Counselor Vex whispered. "Our early warning systems would have detected any approaching fleet days ago." "Would they?" Tom asked innocently. "Even if that fleet was already here, hiding in the shadow of the Nebula, using stealth technology that makes your sensors think they are looking at background radiation?" Ambassador Thrane's atmosphere pod was cycling through colors I'd never seen before. "How long have you been planning this?" "Oh, about 6 months," Jessica replied casually. "Ever since we figured out that your peace overtures were actually hunting expeditions. 6 months. They'd been planning this for 6 months while we thought we were the ones setting the trap. The Murphy's Law," I said, pieces falling into place. "Your ship was never damaged, was it?" "Damaged?" Alex Morgan laughed. "She's perfectly fine. A little theatrical smoke and some creative engineering, that's all. Humans are quite good at making things look worse than they are. It's a survival trait." Dr. Webb was back to studying his data pad. "Speaking of survival traits, Commander Crix, you might want to tell Admiral Corax that his ships are currently being targeted by approximately 240 different weapon systems, just so he knows." The communication channel erupted with overlapping voices as the Admiral tried to coordinate with his fleet. I could hear the panic building in their transmissions. "This is an act of war," High Priest Mogu declared, his heat signature flaring to dangerous levels. "No," Jessica corrected, her voice suddenly hard as neutronium. "This is a rescue mission. Your integration center holds 47 human beings. We want them back. And if we refuse?" I asked, though I already suspected the answer. Colonel Hayes smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Then we take them back." Tom's device let out a triumphant beep. "Oh, excellent. The Retribution has just finished slicing through your communication encryption. They now have access to all of Admiral Corax's fleet coordination protocols." "That's impossible," I protested. "Our encryption is quantum-based, theoretically unbreakable." "Theoretically," Dr. Webb agreed. "But theory has a way of falling apart when you throw enough creative problem-solving at it. Humans are very good at creative problem-solving." The station shuddered as something large docked with our secondary bay. "That will be the Marines," Alex said conversationally. "They are here to provide additional negotiating leverage." "Marines?" My scales were practically vibrating with terror. "Human Expeditionary Force," Colonel Hayes explained. "Best boarding specialists in known space. They will be very polite, I'm sure." Over the comm, Admiral Corax was shouting orders that his subordinates seemed increasingly reluctant to follow. Apparently, being outgunned 40-1 had a way of affecting morale. "This is madness," Ambassador Thrane bubbled. "You can't simply attack a diplomatic station." "We are not attacking," Jessica said reasonably. "We are negotiating with backup." Armed negotiation is still aggression, Counselor Vex pointed out. Is it? Tom asked. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like we walked into your ambush and decided to turn it into a teaching moment. Dr. Webb looked up from his datapad again. By the way, Commander Crix, you might be interested to know that we have also located the Integration Center. Fascinating facility. Very secure, very hidden, very much surrounded by human ships right about now. My heart stopped completely this time. The Integration Center was the most classified facility in Galactic Council space. Its location was known to perhaps a dozen individuals in the entire galaxy. How? I whispered. Oh, we have been watching you for quite some time, Jessica replied. Longer than you have been watching us, as it turns out. Humans are natural intelligence gatherers. We have this annoying habit of paying attention to things. The conference room's main display activated, showing a tactical readout of local space. 5 Galactic Navy cruisers hung motionless in the void, surrounded by a constellation of human vessels that seemed to have materialized from nowhere. Beautiful, isn't it? Colonel Hayes observed. Strategic positioning at its finest. How many ships do you have out there? High Priest Mogu asked, his heat signature dimming to almost normal levels. Enough, was all Jessica would say. Tom's device played a little fanfare. Oh, this is rich. Admiral Corax just received a communication from Galactic High Command. Apparently, they are very interested in negotiating a peaceful resolution to this situation. Peaceful resolution? I couldn't keep the disbelief out of my voice. Amazing how quickly attitudes change when you are facing a superior force, Alex noted. It's almost like the Galactic Council only respects strength. Dr. Webb was studying something on his datapad with obvious delight. Commander, you are going to love this. The Integration Center has just released all 47 human prisoners, completely voluntary according to their transmission. No coercion whatsoever. Coercion? Colonel Hayes mused. Interesting word choice. They are also providing full medical care, compensation for unlawful detention, and a formal apology, Tom added, along with detailed records of their operations for the past 5 years. 5 years? They've been kidnapping humans for 5 years, and we'd never suspected they knew. So, Jessica said, settling back into her chair, shall we discuss that peace treaty now? Under more honest circumstances this time? I looked around the conference room at my fellow delegates. Ambassador Thrain was a subdued blue-green in his atmosphere pod. Counselor Vex's form had dimmed to barely visible levels. High Priest Mogu's heat signature was practically Arctic. Everyone else looked like they wanted to be anywhere else in the galaxy. What are your terms? I asked, knowing I had no choice. Simple, Jessica replied. The Galactic Council stops treating humanity like a problem to be solved. We get full recognition as a sovereign species, open trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, and most importantly, no more mysterious disappearances. And in return? Ambassador Thrain asked weakly. In return, we don't tell the rest of the galaxy that their mighty Galactic Council is so terrified of one small species that they resort to kidnapping and secret prisons. Dr. Webb looked up with a grin. Also, we might share some of our technology. I have been working on some fascinating applications of quantum mechanics that I think you'd find educational. The Integration Center data is particularly interesting, Tom added. All that research you have been doing on human psychology and tactics, very thorough, very useful for understanding how to defeat you. The implications hit me like a solar flare. They hadn't just rescued their people and outmaneuvered our fleet. They'd gained access to years of classified research about their own species, research we'd compiled to use against them. You planned all of this, I said, finally understanding the scope of what had just happened. Every detail, Alex confirmed. From the moment we suspected your peace overtures were fake, we have been setting this up. The damaged ship, the scanning equipment, the apparent vulnerability, all of it designed to make you overconfident. But why reveal everything now? Counselor Vex asked. You could have maintained the deception, gathered more intelligence. Jessica's smile returned, but now it looked genuinely warm instead of predatory. Because we don't want to be your enemies, Commander Crix. We want to be your partners, but partnership requires honesty and respect, Colonel Hayes added, and the understanding that humans don't make good prisoners, Tom finished. Admiral Corax's voice came over the comm enough and tied one last time, defeated and hollow. Station Unity, Galactic High Command has authorized full compliance with human demands. All detention operations are to cease immediately. I slumped in my chair, feeling like I'd just survived a natural disaster. The treaty will be fair and equitable, Jessica promised. We are not interested in conquest or domination. We just want to be treated as equals. Dr. Webb tucked away his datapad. Though I do hope we can continue some of that research cooperation. Voluntarily this time, of course. Of course, I agreed, wondering if I'd ever understand how a species could be so simultaneously terrifying and reasonable. Over the next several hours we hammered out the details of what would become known as the Unity Accords, full recognition of human sovereignty, trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, joint scientific ventures, and a mutual defense pact that effectively made humanity the Galactic Council's newest members. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Jessica paused at the conference room door. Commander Crix, for what it's worth, I think this will work out well for everyone. Humans make better friends than enemies. I'm beginning to understand that, I replied. After they left, I sat alone in the conference room, staring out at the Nebula where a human battle fleet had hidden for months without being detected. Yara found me there an hour later. Sir, are you all right? Yara, I said slowly, remind me never to underestimate humans again. Yes, sir, though if I may ask, what exactly did we just witness? I thought about it for a long moment. The difference between strategy and tactics. We thought we were being strategic by setting a trap. The humans were actually being strategic by letting us think we had. And the difference is, strategy wins wars, Yara. Tactics just win battles. Outside, the human ships were departing, disappearing back into the nebula as silently as they'd arrived. In a few hours, it would be as if they'd never been there at all, except for the 47 freed prisoners, except for the treaty that would reshape galactic politics, except for the lesson that the Galactic Council would never forget. Humans, it turned out, were very good teachers. They'd called it a peace mission. We'd called it a trap. In the end, we were both right. 3 weeks later, I stood in the same conference room, but everything had changed. The Unity Accords had been ratified by every major galactic power. Trade routes were being established. Cultural exchange programs were launching, and I was about to meet with the human delegation again, this time as genuine allies. The irony wasn't lost on me. Sir, Yara announced, her tentacles far less twitchy than before. The human representatives have arrived. This time, their ship docked with none of the theatrical damage. The ESS Harmony, yes, they'd renamed it, gleamed with fresh maintenance and what appeared to be several new additions that made our sensors very nervous. Jessica Reeves entered the conference room with the same confident stride, but her smile seemed more genuine now. Dr. Webb followed, practically bouncing with excitement over some new data pad. Colonel Hayes looked relaxed, almost casual. Tom Richardson's scanning device was mercifully quiet, and Alex Morgan actually looked like he was enjoying himself. Commander Crix, Jessica said, extending her hand again. Thank you for hosting us. Again. I grasped her hand, noting that the gesture felt less like potential detonation this time. The pleasure is mine, Ambassador Reeves, though I admit, I'm curious about the purpose of this visit. Oh, this should be fun, Dr. Webb said, settling into his chair. We have got some updates on those joint research projects we discussed. Updates? I asked, though I was learning to dread that word when humans used it. Tom held up a new device, sleeker than his previous scanner, and thankfully silent. We have been analyzing the integration center data you provided. Fascinating stuff. Really impressive psychological profiling work. Thank you, I said, uncertain whether this was a compliment or an accusation. The thing is, Colonel Hayes added, we found some inconsistencies in the data. Nothing major, just curious gaps. Alex Morgan leaned forward. Gaps that suggest the integration center wasn't the only facility conducting research on captured humans. My blood temperature dropped several degrees. I'm not sure what you are implying. We are not implying anything, Jessica said smoothly. We are stating facts. There are at least 3 other facilities conducting similar operations. The Adaptation Laboratory on Kepler Station, the Behavioral Analysis Center in the Rigel system, and something called the Synthesis Project in the Vega colonies. How did they know about those? The Synthesis Project was so classified that even I didn't have clearance to access its files.
That's impossible,
I protested. The integration center was shut down completely. All operations ceased. Oh, that facility is definitely closed, Dr. Webb agreed cheerfully. But the research was apparently far more distributed than anyone admitted. Quite clever, really. Compartmentalized operations to prevent exactly this kind of discovery. Tom's new device made a soft chiming sound. Actually, we have got some more recent intelligence. Seems like someone's been trying to move the remaining subjects to more secure locations. Remaining subjects? The words came out as barely a whisper. 83 humans, Colonel Hayes said, her casual tone not hiding the steel underneath. Held in various facilities across Galactic Council space, some for as long as 7 years. 7 years. The scope of this operation was staggering. This is the first I'm hearing of this, I said, and for once I was telling the complete truth. We believe you, Jessica said, which is why we are here talking instead of simply extracting our people by force. Simply extracting? I asked. Alex Morgan gestured toward the viewing port. The Retribution is back along with some friends, but this time they are here for a different kind of negotiation. I looked out at the space around Station Unity. Sure enough, human ships were visible in the distance, not threatening, but definitely present. What kind of negotiation? I asked, though I suspected I knew. The kind where we discuss expanding the Unity Accords, Jessica replied. Specifically the sections dealing with accountability and justice. Dr. Webb pulled out his data pad. We have been doing some calculations. 83 people held for an average of 3.7 years each, subjected to psychological experimentation, physical testing, and cultural analysis without consent. The compensation figures are quite substantial. Compensation, my voice cracked slightly. Medical care, therapy, lost wages, pain and suffering, violation of sapient rights, Tom listed off. Standard stuff, really. Though the interest calculations do get complicated when you factor in compound rates across multiple galactic currencies. Colonel Hayes smiled. We are not unreasonable. We understand that this was probably compartmentalized, need-to-know basis. Most of the council probably had no idea this was happening. Probably, Alex agreed. But someone did know. Someone authorized it. Someone funded it. And someone needs to be held accountable. Jessica leaned back in her chair. We have prepared a comprehensive proposal, full disclosure of all operations, immediate release of all subjects, compensation for damages, and structural reforms to prevent this from happening again. And if the council refuses? I asked. Then we implement our backup plan, Dr. Webb said, still studying his data pad. Which is? Tom's device chimed again. We have already infiltrated the computer systems of all 3 remaining facilities, complete access to their databases, security protocols, and operational procedures. Infiltrated, I squeaked. Virtually, of course, Jessica clarified. We are not barbarians, but we now have detailed intelligence on every aspect of these operations. Guard rotations, security weaknesses, prisoner locations, administrative hierarchies. Colonel Hayes stretched casually. Makes extraction planning much simpler. You are talking about military operations against Galactic Council facilities, I said, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. Are we? Alex asked innocently. Or are we talking about law enforcement actions against criminal enterprises? The distinction was subtle but important. Under galactic law, operations that violated sapient rights were considered crimes regardless of governmental authorization. The evidence is quite clear, Dr. Webb said. Unlawful detention, experimentation without consent, violation of diplomatic immunity. Any galactic court would classify this as organized criminal activity, which means, Jessica added, that any action taken to stop these crimes and rescue the victims would be legally justified. Tom held up his device. We have also prepared a complete intelligence package for release to the galactic media. Full documentation of all operations, including financial records showing which council members profited from the research. Profited? I asked weakly. Oh yes, Dr. Webb said with obvious delight. Quite a lucrative enterprise. Human behavioral data sold to military contractors, psychological profiles licensed to security firms, biological samples distributed to pharmaceutical companies. Samples, I felt faint. Blood, tissue, genetic material. Colonel Hayes listed casually. Standard medical collection procedures, apparently, without consent of course. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just unlawful detention, it was systematic exploitation on a massive scale. How long have you known about this? I asked. We have suspected for months, Jessica replied, but we needed proof. The integration center data provided the initial evidence. Our subsequent intelligence gathering filled in the rest. Subsequent intelligence gathering, I repeated. You mean espionage? We prefer the term investigative journalism, Alex said with a grin. Very thorough investigative journalism. Tom's device played a cheerful tune. Oh, excellent. The synthesis project just received a priority communication from Galactic High Command. They are being ordered to suspend all operations pending a full review. How can you possibly know that? I demanded. Trade secret, Tom replied. But I will say that human communication technology has advanced considerably since our last meeting. Dr. Webb looked up from his datapad. Commander, you might want to contact High Command. I believe they are trying to reach you. As if summoned by his words, the conference room's communication system activated. Station Unity, this is Galactic High Command. Priority Alpha communication for Commander Crix. I accepted the connection with trembling fingers. This is Commander Crix. Commander, you are to facilitate immediate negotiations with the human delegation. Full authority is granted for any agreements necessary to resolve this situation. Sir, what situation exactly? The situation where humanity has just provided us with irrefutable evidence of systematic war crimes conducted by rogue elements within our own organization. Rogue elements. Right. Someone was about to become a scapegoat. Understood, sir. Commander, handle this delicately. The survival of the Galactic Council may depend on it. The connection closed, leaving me staring at 5 humans who had just casually dismantled my entire understanding of galactic politics. So, Jessica said pleasantly, shall we discuss the revised Unity Accords? Over the next 6 hours we negotiated what would become known as the accountability protocols, immediate release of all remaining subjects, comprehensive compensation packages, structural reforms to prevent future abuses, and establishment of a joint human galactic oversight committee to monitor compliance. One more thing, Dr. Webb said as we were finalizing the documents. We'd like to establish a formal intelligence sharing agreement. Intelligence sharing? I asked. Information exchange, Colonel Hayes clarified. We have discovered that humans and Galactic Council species have complementary intelligence gathering capabilities. Complementary how? Tom grinned. You are very good at big-picture strategic intelligence. We are very good at detailed tactical intelligence. Together we could identify and prevent problems before they become crises, like unauthorized experimentation programs, Alex added, or rogue military operations, Jessica continued, or species that might pose genuine threats to galactic stability, Dr. Webb finished. I considered this. The humans had just demonstrated an intelligence-gathering capability that was frankly terrifying in its scope and effectiveness. Having them as allies instead of adversaries was obviously preferable. I will need to consult with High Command, I said. Of course, Jessica agreed. Take your time, we will be here. Actually, Tom said, checking his device, we might need to step out briefly. The Kepler station facility just released their subjects, and we need to coordinate medical care. Already? I asked. Apparently, the base commander decided that discretion was the better part of valor, Colonel Hayes said, especially after receiving detailed intelligence about his security vulnerabilities and a complete roster of his personnel's personal information, Alex added helpfully. You didn't threaten them, did you? I asked. Threaten? Jessica looked genuinely offended. We simply provided them with information demonstrating that their operational security was less than optimal. Much less than optimal, Dr. Webb agreed. Amazing what you can learn about people when you have access to their personal communications. Their personal communications? I was starting to feel like a broken translator. Public records, social media, financial transactions, Tom listed, all perfectly legal information sources, just very thoroughly cross-referenced. Cross-referenced with what? With their facilities' operational procedures, security protocols, and personnel schedules, Colonel Hayes explained. Turns out, when you know someone's daily routine, their family situation, their financial pressures, and their personal relationships, you can make very accurate predictions about their behavior. Predictions like whether they will cooperate with an investigation, I asked. Among other things, Jessica said with that smile I was learning to recognize as deeply dangerous. 2 hours later, after coordinating with High Command and witnessing the release of another 27 human subjects, I found myself back in the conference room with the human delegation. "The intelligence sharing agreement has been approved," I announced. "Excellent," Dr. Webb said. "We have prepared a preliminary intelligence package as a gesture of good faith." "What kind of intelligence?" Tom held up a data storage device. "Information about 3 different species that have been conducting unauthorized surveillance of Galactic Council communications." 3 species? I asked weakly. "The hegemony has been intercepting diplomatic communications for 18 months, Colonel Hayes said. "The consortium has been monitoring military frequencies for over 2 years, and the collective has been conducting economic espionage for at least 3 years. "How do you know this?" "We have been monitoring them while they have been monitoring you," Alex replied. "It's like intelligence gathering inception." "Inception? Layers within layers," Jessica explained. "The interesting part is that none of them realize the others are doing it too." Dr. Webb was practically vibrating with excitement. "The mathematical possibilities are fascinating. Triple agent scenarios, cascading information loops, recursive deception matrices." "Dr. Webb," I said carefully, "are you suggesting that humanity has been conducting surveillance on multiple galactic powers simultaneously?" "Suggesting?" Tom grinned. "Commander, we have been conducting surveillance on everyone, including you, including us." "Well, yes," Jessica said reasonably. "How else do you think we knew about the integration center, or the other facilities, or the rogue elements within your own organization?" I stared at them. "How long have you been watching us?" "Since first contact," Colonel Hayes replied. "Standard intelligence protocol. When you meet a new species, you gather information about their capabilities, intentions, and potential threats. But we have been doing the same thing to you," I protested. "Yes," Alex agreed, "though not as successfully, apparently. The difference," Dr. Webb said, "is that we have been assuming you were doing it, while you have been assuming we weren't." "Assumptions," Jessica said, "can be dangerous things." Tom's device chimed softly. "Speaking of which, you might want to know that the Rigel facility has just agreed to full cooperation. Apparently, they received some concerning intelligence about their operational security." "How concerning?" I asked. "Concerning enough that they have decided transparency is preferable to the alternative," Colonel Hayes said diplomatically. "What alternative?" "The alternative where detailed information about their operations gets released to the families of their test subjects," Alex explained. "Along with the personal information of everyone involved in the program," Tom added. "You are talking about blackmail," I said. "Are we?" Jessica asked. "Or are we talking about accountability? These people have committed crimes against our citizens. Under human law, the families of victims have a right to know who's responsible. Under galactic law too, actually," Dr. Webb said, consulting his datapad. "Quite clearly stated in the Sapient Rights Charter." I was beginning to understand why the Galactic Council had been so terrified of humanity. It wasn't just their military capabilities or their technological advancement. It was their approach to problem solving. Where other species saw insurmountable obstacles, humans saw puzzles to be solved through creativity, persistence, and ruthless attention to detail. "The final facility?" I asked. "The Synthesis Project," Jessica said. "That one's a bit more complicated." "Complicated how?" "It's not just holding human subjects," Colonel Hayes explained. "It's holding subjects from 17 different species." 17? I felt my scales go pale. "Apparently, humans weren't the only species being studied," Tom said. "The Synthesis Project was designed to create comprehensive psychological and biological profiles of every major galactic power, including," Dr. Webb added with obvious fascination, "several species that aren't even members of the Galactic Council. This is bigger than we thought," I whispered. "Much bigger," Jessica agreed, "which is why we need to handle it very carefully." "What are you proposing?" "Joint operation," Colonel Hayes said. "Human tactical expertise combined with Galactic Council authority. We liberate all the subjects, shut down the facility, and conduct a comprehensive investigation. And then we decide what to do with the people responsible," Alex said grimly. "The people responsible include some very high-ranking council members," I warned. "We know," Jessica replied, "which is why this needs to be handled correctly. Justice, not revenge. Justice," I repeated, "from the species that just demonstrated they can infiltrate our most secure facilities and monitor our most classified communications." "Exactly," Dr. Webb said cheerfully. Who better to ensure justice than the species with the capability to enforce it? Tom's device played a complex melody. Oh, this is interesting. The Synthesis Project just received a visit from Galactic Council inspectors. Apparently, someone provided them with detailed information about the facility's operations. Someone? I asked. Anonymous tip, Jessica said innocently. Very detailed anonymous tip. I looked out at the stars, wondering how everything had changed so quickly. 3 weeks ago, humanity had been a minor species on the edge of galactic civilization. Now they were effectively the Galactic Council's intelligence service, law enforcement agency, and moral conscience. Commander, Jessica said gently, we know this is overwhelming, but we are not trying to take over or dominate anyone. We are trying to build something better, a galaxy where species can coexist without fear, Colonel Hayes said. Where differences are celebrated, not exploited. Where justice applies to everyone, Alex added. Where intelligence is used to prevent problems, not create them, Tom finished. Dr. Webb looked up from his datapad. And where science is conducted ethically, with the consent and cooperation of all participants. It sounds idealistic, I said. It is idealistic, Jessica agreed, but humans have a saying, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you will land among the stars. And if you don't miss, I asked, then you get to the moon, she replied with that dangerous smile, and once you are there you can see the whole galaxy. Outside, the human ships maintained their patient vigil, no longer threatening, but definitely present. Inside, 5 humans were calmly reshaping the foundations of galactic civilization through a combination of superior intelligence, moral clarity, and an almost casual willingness to do whatever was necessary to protect their people. I was beginning to understand that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their military capabilities. It was their absolute refusal to accept that some things couldn't be changed. They'd called it a peace mission. We'd called it a trap. In the end, we were both right. But the trap had been much bigger than either of us had imagined. And now, somehow, we were all in it together.